In this video, we're going to look at how to test a controller. So let's switch over to our text editor, take a look here. Now, one of the files that was generated for us when we did a generate scaffold earlier in an earlier video was the comment_controller_test file, which tests a comment controller. Now, we don't have the fixture set up for that comment controller. It's a little bit more involved. What we do have is set up as a critic controller, but we didn't generate our critic using a scaffolding. We did that by hand. So for our purposes here, and to show you a little bit how this goes, we're going to kind of do some copy and paste out of our comment_controller test file into our critic file. Now, the first thing you'll notice that I've got a few things set up here already for us. I've copied the first part of this and gotten these class definitions set up. The next thing that we need to get in here is, after our class definition is started, is actually get our fixtures loaded up, and we just need the one fixture for our purposes here. So if you notice, fixtures, for this it's comments, it wants the comments fixture. In our case, we want the critics fixture. The next thing you'll notice in our other file here, in our comment file, is that there's a setup right up front. They're setting us up, and we can copy and paste this in. And let's fix this up a little bit. First off, it's not going to be a comment controller, it's going to be a critic controller, and the rest look okay. And then the one test that we're going to copy out of here is our test_index, and that's going to test which file comes back to us, which our HTML template comes back to us when we just do a get for the index. Now, in the case of our comment controller, that was going to be list, because that's what the scaffolding generated. But in the case of our critic controller, there really is nothing in here other than some stuff about logging in. And don't worry, these files are available in the working files, the complete application, if you don't have this or yours doesn't look the same. Instead, there's the index file that's available, and that's what Ruby on Rails is going to grab. It's going to look for that index file. So, and the name of it is index.html, so our template coming back to us is index. So we've got to change that to index. And that's pretty much a start of testing our controller. So let's go ahead and run that test. And again, we do that by saying Ruby test. And in this case, it's a functional test. And then we're going to test our critic controller. And there should be one test and two assertions. There we have it. Now, since we have our fixtures in here, we could actually add more methods in here to test our controller to see if it's properly creating, editing, updating our critics. But since we don't have any code in our critic controller to do that, there's really not a lot that we can do right now for testing. But you should have the basics now of how you can test a controller, set up some basic tests, get it moving forward, and again, look on the internet for more definitive tests that you can run, more detailed examples.